Hello and welcome to Suresh Agarwal's Mathematics Shortcuts. In this video, we are going to discuss 5 most important questions from the portion respiration of the chapter life processes. So this is a very important video because this chapter indeed is very important. So let's have a look at the first question. Explain why respiration through mouth is harmful. Mention the special features of nasal respiration that makes it a safer process. So basically you have been asked that why we should basically not breathe through our mouth. The reason is very simple, that if we breathe through the mouth, the processing of the incoming air is not done. So what all benefits do we have when we breathe in through the nose? The air gets filtered out. The air is filtered because of the fine hair that are present in the nostrils, which filter out any kind of like pollen grains or dust particles that may be present in the air. The air is filtered through the nose. Then it is also moistened because the mucus glands that are present in the nostrils, they add moisture to the air, making it moist so that it doesn't dry up the inner lining of our respiratory surface inside the lungs. Also, it gets disinfected because if any kind of infection is present, that infection is also destroyed by the nostrils. So all these things will not be done if we are breathing in through our mouth. The air will not be filtered, so any kind of dust particles or solid particles that may be present in our air, in the air, they may travel up to our lungs and cause allergic problems or other types of problems. The air will not be moistened, which may dry up the inner lining of the respiratory surfaces, and also it will not be disinfected as well, so which may cause many types of like serious complications may also rise. So that is why it's always said that we must always breathe through our nose, not through our mouth. So this is the first question that we were supposed to take up. The second question is you have to give reasons. For the first part, we have glottis is guarded by the epiglottis. For this, we need to actually understand the construction in brief. What is glottis and what is epiglottis? So for this, I'm just drawing a small part of the human respiratory system over here. So if you just imagine this to be the two openings, that is the buccal cavity and the nasal cavity. So this is the nasal passage or the nose, and this is the mouth or the buccal cavity. So when you are breathing in through the nose, the air, it goes up to this point. So this point is known as the glottis, the point from where the windpipe originates. So this is the windpipe, and if you go down straight like this is the food pipe or the esophagus. So now you know what the difference is there between the food pipe and the windpipe. If you go down straight, it is the food pipe, but the windpipe takes a slight turn and then it originates. So the place from where the windpipe starts, that place is known as the glottis. And over here you have a small flap of flesh like this. So this small flap of flesh is known as the epiglottis. So the question is why the glottis is covered by the epiglottis. The reason is very simple. When you are swallowing food, the food goes straight down into the food pipe. So I'll be using blue ink to show you the passage of the food. So the food goes down like this and it is supposed to go like this. But at times if we are speaking something or like while having our food we are laughing, the epiglottis, it may vibrate because it is just a flap of flesh which hangs over the glottis, and due to that the food may enter the windpipe. So what is the function of epiglottis? It covers the mouth of the windpipe when we are swallowing the food so that the food, it doesn't go in the windpipe. So if you get a question like this, you are supposed to write the answer as it prevents the food from entering the windpipe when we are swallowing the food. Prevents the entry of food in the windpipe. So that could be the shortest way we could write it. Prevents the entry of food in the windpipe. So it is a very important part, although a very small part, but it has a very significant role in the human respiratory system. The second part, lung alveoli are covered with blood capillaries. We know the exchange of gases, it occurs in the alveoli. The air that we inhale gives off its oxygen to the blood, and the carbon dioxide that is brought by the blood is given off to the air. So in order to facilitate this exchange of gases, The lung alveoli are covered with blood capillaries. So what answer will you write here? To facilitate the exchange of gases, so that the gases, they are easily able to diffuse out and in of the blood, to facilitate the diffusion of the gases, the diffusion of CO2 and O2 from the blood to the inhaled air and vice versa. This is how we should be writing this. Then wall of trachea are supported by cartilaginous rings. So trachea is just a pipe made of flesh. If the cartilaginous rings will not be there, then what will happen? The trachea would collapse. So this is just to maintain the shape even when air is not present. To maintain the shape of the trachea even when air is not present inside it. Then fourth is aquatic animals breathe faster than land animals. The reason behind this is that the amount of dissolved oxygen present in water is just 1% as compared to the amount of dissolved oxygen, or the amount of oxygen that is present in air, that is 21%. So the amount of oxygen present in water, amount of dissolved oxygen in water is much less as compared to air. So this is the answer to this part. So we have taken up 4 parts over here. You can expect any 2 parts as a 2 marks question, any 3 parts as a 3 marks question, or you can get it clubbed up with some other part from the same chapter, making a 5-mark question as well. So a very important question, give reasons, which can be asked in multiple ways. Moving ahead towards question number 3 on your screens now. What are the different ways in which glucose is broken down to provide energy in various organisms? This is again a very important question. It can be asked in a variety of ways. So we are going to discuss the basic answer here so that you can answer any other way the question is framed. So basically the answer will remain the same, only the language of the question may be modified. So first of all, we know that glucose is broken down into pyruvate in the cytoplasm. So this is the first step. This occurs in the cytoplasm and the process is known as glycolysis. So this process is known as glycolysis and this occurs in the cytoplasm. Now after this, there can be 3 ways by which this pyruvate can be broken down. The first process occurs in the mitochondria and is known as aerobic respiration. So what are the products that are going to be formed here? The products of aerobic respiration in the mitochondria are carbon dioxide, water, and lots of energy that is produced. So this is the first pathway, that when aerobic respiration it occurs in the mitochondria, then complete breakdown of pyruvate occurs, which results in the formation of carbon dioxide, water, and lots of energy is given out. The second pathway is in the muscle cells when it happens anaerobically. So in the muscle cells, it's anaerobic respiration. What happens here? It's lactic acid that is produced, and along with lactic acid we get carbon dioxide and energy. So this is responsible for forming cramps in the muscles after heavy physical work or after heavy exercise, because when our body is not able to provide enough energy to the muscles through aerobic respiration, it is in such situations that the muscle cells they start respiring anaerobically in order to fulfill the energy needs on a temporary basis, and to get rid of the lactic acid that is formed. Massage with warm oil or a hot water bath does help in giving relief to the cramps. So a very important question: where does anaerobic respiration occur in our body? What causes cramps? So there are a variety of ways in which this question can be put forward in the exam. The third part is anaerobic respiration in the yeast cells. So whenever anaerobic respiration occurs in yeast, then what is formed? Ethanol is formed along with the formation of carbon dioxide, plus energy is given out. So basically the amount of energy released varies in aerobic respiration, which is only the first case, that is in case of mitochondria. I'll just be writing A for aerobic and AN for anaerobic over here so that you can identify. So this is aerobic respiration, this is anaerobic, and this is also going to be anaerobic. So in aerobic respiration, the amount of energy that is given out is much more as compared to the amount of energy that is given out in anaerobic respiration. So this is a very, very important flowchart. This is given in your NCERT also, but you can expect a question in a variety of ways based on this. Moving towards question number 4, list the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Again, if you get this as a 2 marks question, you can write 2 points, 3 marks, 3 points, or 5 marks, 5 points. There can be so many points to this question. So let's have a look at what answer can we write for this. So this is the table showing the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. The first difference, oxygen is required for aerobic, oxygen is not required for anaerobic. End products are carbon dioxide and water. In anaerobic, the end products are ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide or lactic acid, as we discussed just now. Then the amount of energy released is much more in aerobic as compared to anaerobic. In aerobic respiration, you get 38 ATP from one molecule of glucose, whereas in anaerobic respiration, you just get 2 ATP from a molecule of glucose. So you can see the huge difference in the amount of energy that is given out. Then aerobic respiration, it occurs in the mitochondria, whereas anaerobic respiration, it occurs in the cytoplasm. Then complete breakdown of food occurs in aerobic respiration, whereas in anaerobic respiration, it's the partial breakdown that is occurring. Examples, all animals and plants, they generally respire aerobically, but in certain conditions, muscle cells and bacteria and yeast, they respire anaerobically. So this is the table of differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So depending upon how many marks the question carries in your exam, you can give those many points as your answer. Moving towards the last question, that is question number 5. Draw a diagram of human respiratory system and label on it. Okay, so for this you need to draw the diagram. Part where air is filtered by fine hair and mucus. So what part are you supposed to label here? It is the nasal passage, because the filtration of the air and the mucus glands, it's present only in the nasal cavity. So we'll be writing the nasal passage over here, or the nostrils or the nose. Then part which terminates in balloon-like structures. What are we supposed to label over here? Yes, any guesses? Yes, we'll be labeling the bronchioles, because it's the bronchioles which finally lead to the alveoli. Then balloon-like structures where exchange of gases takes place. This is going to be the alveoli. Then part which separates chest cavity from abdominal cavity. This is going to be the diaphragm. And the organ surrounded by cartilaginous rings, this is going to be the trachea. So you are supposed to draw the diagram of the human respiratory system and you have to label all these parts. So there's no space here, much space is not there, so I'll just be drawing a small little diagram for your easy reference. And if you want this in detail, you can go back and watch my video on respiration, in which I have explained the complete concept. I'll be sharing the link on your screen, so you can refer to that link. You can just click over here and you'll get back to the video which I'm talking about. So it's going to be like this, as I just explained earlier how to draw the glottis and the epiglottis part. Now this is the we have the voice box over here, then the trachea which divides into two, then the two bronchi, they enter into the lungs, the left lung and the right lung, and inside the lung they divide and redivide into branches, smaller and smaller branches. At the end of each branch there's a small balloon-like structure which is known as the alveoli. So now you can just refer to the points that are given and label it accordingly. So this is going to be the nasal passage, that is the first label. Then these are going to be the bronchioles, that is the second label. Then the alveoli, third label. Then diaphragm, you'll be drawing beneath this. So this is going to be the diaphragm over here. You can just enclose it in the cavity like this, the thoracic cavity. So this is going to be your label number 4, that is the diaphragm. And yes, this is the trachea, in which you are supposed to draw the cartilaginous rings also, like this. So this is going to be your label number 5, that is the trachea. So this is how you have to draw the diagram and label all these points on this. You can expect this as a 5-mark question in your exam. Or again, carrying lesser number of parts, it could be a 3 marks question also. At times the diagram is already given to you and you're just supposed to label it, so that for that purpose also you must be able to identify the individual parts correctly. So this was about question number 5, and these were the 5 most important questions that could be asked in the exam from the chapter life processes respiration part. So do hit the like button if you like this video and you found this informative, and I would like to hear your comments in the comment section. And don't forget to share this with your friends, as I always say, and do subscribe to our channel if you have not subscribed it yet. Thanks for joining me, and keep watching for the next video coming up shortly, that will be on transportation.